Hi, I'm Tom from XTNG. Today, we're testing the performance of the XTNG Gen 3 Plus. First, we'll be testing version 36. We're using a single fuel circuit mode with a metering rod-coded SK set at 68 clicks. This setup fully simulates the operation of the SmartCarb S2. This is a 2017 Yamaha YZ250X. The engine features an OEM cylinder and head with a total runtime of 15 hours. It's equipped with an OEM CDA, 13-tooth front sprocket, and 50-tooth rear sprocket. We're using low flashpoint Motul 710 fully synthetic two-stroke oil with 92-octane ethanol-free unleaded gasoline. The fuel-to-oil mixture ratio is 51. Our testing will include low-end and top-end performance, power delivery linearity, valve performance for preventing fuel leaks, and overall maximum range. We'll record all the data from these riding tests. First, we'll conduct a low RPM torque test on this 30-incline woodland trail. We'll test in both 1-stand 2-end gear to see how low the RPMs can drop in each gear. This is exactly the kind of torque performance we care about most when riding in the woods. I'll start the test in 1-steer gear, without using the clutch throughout. Let's see if it can lift the front wheel off the ground. It looks effortless. The front wheel lifts easily. That was a small misstep. But I can feel the engine torque is incredibly strong. From this point, we'll test the engine's extreme low RPM torque performance. Keep an eye on the numbers on the RPM gauge. $1,500. 1,440. 1,620. 1,440. 1,380. From this test, we recorded a minimum RPM of 1,380. Let's run the test again. The elevation, slope, speed, and other data displayed on the screen are from the GPS array of a Garmin camera. These numbers are not authoritative and should only be used as a reference. As before, 1S gear, no clutch use. The torque is strong. Watch the ERPM gauge. Impressive torque. 1,740.
1680
1,680.
1380 1260
1,260.
1200
1,200.
哇，好强的低音哦！刚才最低的时候1200。
We recorded a minimum RPM of 1,200.
咱们再试一下它的二档，
Next, we'll conduct the torque test in 2N gear.
低扭表现怎么样？不过很明显，我能感觉到36的这种极限低转速，它要比38的更好一些。像我们这代产品的38口径呢，其实低扭已经相当不错了，但是这个36的更加紧凑一些，我是可以直接感受到的。二档啊，全程不用离合器，看看它的性能表现。
Again, no clutch will be used throughout the test.
我还没起头哎。不行，不行，有点勉强。
The front wheel still lifts off the ground, though not as effortlessly as before.
看一下它的低转速啊，
Watch the ERPM gauge.
二档，哇，相当不错了。
The torque in 2N gear is also impressive.
1680，
1,680. The minimum RPM in 2N gear was 1,680.
1740，
1,740.
1680，
1,680. The top-end performance is excellent. The burst power is impressive. Its top-end performance is very similar to the Smart Carb SC2, while still maintaining relatively linear power delivery.
低扭相当不错。我们找一个小。
Now, we'll test the one-way valve designed to prevent fuel leakage.
充分的倒车。这里就不错。好。 咱们以这个坡道来进行倒车，模拟一下它是
We'll simulate a rollover scenario and keep the bike in this position for an extended period to see if the engine can start up again normally.
拔出来。好，好 ，OK， 哎呀，哇哦，看看这个姿势，看看这个姿势，它倒车以后，一会儿当他把车扶起来的时候，看看他的能不能一脚着车啊！看，他这会儿是完全处于这种倒置状态啊。OK， 扶起来看看，哇哦！ 没有淌一滴油，因为它是内部通风结构，它不会有燃料流出。好，启动它。
Amazing! The engine successfully restarted. Next, we'll flip the bike to the other side and run the test again.
咱们以另外一个方向倒车，看看它的表现。OK。哎，哇哦！以这种方式，这就是典型咱们在林道中倒车以后的情景，对不对？啊，我为什么要把这个这个角度呢，摆放的车轮要比这个车座要高？因为这样子的话，它化油器的油肯定是往下，要是有什么大气平衡管啊这些外部通风啊，这些肯定是往出会淌油的，而且还会往那个进气喉管里面灌油。这个是不会的，啊，咱们以同样这种方式再做一次反方向的测试。啊，我觉得应该没问题。哎，我觉得应该没问题。好，扶起来，看看。油箱的油管都能闻到一股汽油味儿，说明它这个油的压力还是蛮大的。好，咱们看一下啊。Perfect， 没问题。
No issues at all. Fantastic.
我们接下来要试一下它的综合油耗，看看怎么样啊。然后咱们去。
Now, let's test its overall fuel consumption and see how far a full tank can take us on this type of terrain. The final range test results are as follows. XTNG Gen 3 Plus version 36, SK metering rod, 68 clicks, single fuel circuit mode. Fuel tank capacity, 8 liters. Maximum range, 80 kilometers.
OK， 我们休息几分钟。
Now let's begin testing the performance of the multi-fuel circuit mode. Using this tool, we'll activate the air circuit. The process is very straightforward. First, we need to remove the screw on the right side of the carburetor.
很方便。这是一颗长螺丝，这个长螺丝是起到一个堵塞气道的作用。那么咱们把它取出来。OK， 这是长螺丝。看一下这个短螺丝的样子，这个是短的，这个是长。
A long screw indicates the air circuit is closed, while a short screw means the air circuit is open. We're now reinstalling the short screw, which means the air circuit is activated. The air circuit must work in conjunction with the auxiliary fuel circuit. So, activating the air circuit means you must also activate the auxiliary fuel circuit. Otherwise, the engine will not function properly. Activating the air circuit improves the atomization of low-end fuel. Typically, the auxiliary fuel circuit screw is set between 1 and 1.75 turns. We're still using the SK metering rod, but the parameter is now set to 110 clicks, which is 42 clicks counterclockwise from the previous setting of 68 clicks. We'll run the test again with the same metrics as before. Let's see how it performs.
然后看一下它的着车状态，一脚着车。看看怠速要不要调整？怠速有点偏低啊。
Let's adjust the idle first.
好，我们怠速大概动了半圈。OK， 油门响应非常好。
Sounds good. Let's get started.
一档的一个低转速的一个扭力输出。一档啊，全程不用离合器。
1D, GU clutch usage throughout.
啊，低扭非常足。哦，低扭非常非常好。
The low RPM torque performance is outstanding.
你看，低扭特别的轻松。
The front wheel lifts off the ground effortlessly.
好，咱们看一下它的极限低转速。
Let's continue to monitor the RPM gauge.
一档。 1500、
1500,
1680、1440、
1440,
1440、1320、
1320,
1200。
1200.
哇，低扭非常非常好。
The torque is absolutely outstanding. This time, the lowest RPM we achieved was 1200. Let's do it
咱们
again.
再进行一次测试啊。对，咱们从这里直接续上去得了。一档啊，一档，
First gear, no clutch.
随便起头，给油就起。好，咱们试一下它的极限低转速，再一次测试。看转速表。
Let's keep an eye on the tachometer.
哇，真的超级轻松，这块最陡的。1440、1380、
1380.
1440、1260、
1260.
1260。哇，1200的时候是
The engine stalled at 1200
如
RPM.
果再低于
Both test results show that the lowest RPM is 1200.
把它骑上去。
Now let's test the top end performance.
咱们试一下它的中后段。中后段是没有问题的，非常的暴躁，
It's incredibly explosive, like a beast full of power.
非常的暴躁，没有问题。我们为什么说它没有问题呢？是因为我们把油针调到了110个卡达。
Even though we adjusted the metering rod from 68 to 110 clicks, we didn't actually feel any drop in top end performance.
那么我们在
On the contrary, the entire power band feels crisp.
没有感觉是动。
I can barely see any smoke from the exhaust stack. This also confirms that in a single circuit setup, you must first take care of the idle state. If your low end performance is good but the top end feels bloated, what you need to do is swap the metering rod. However, swapping the metering rod doesn't guarantee perfect performance. In many cases, some compromises must be made for certain engines. On the other hand, a multi-fuel circuit offers comprehensive adjustability. And don't forget, we also have the power jet. That's the strength of the Gene 3 Plus.
我们进行2档的测试，
Now starting the second gear test. No clutch throughout the process.
用离合器。起头有点困难，哈哈。 起头也是可以的，就是一个需要一些技巧。好，咱们看一下转速表现啊。
Keep an eye on the tachometer.
哦，扭矩明显没有一档强哎。哦，二档1320的时候就不行了。
When the engine stalled, the tachometer showed 1,320. It's clear that the bike lost momentum due to the engine RPM being too low. I can clearly feel that the torque performance in second gear is noticeably worse than in first gear. Let's keep testing.
我们再测一下。二档。哦，还是1380左右就熄火。
This time, it's 1,380.
1380左右，它在
Both times the engine stalled. The lowest RPM remained around 1,380.
我们再测一下。这是不是有可能我把油针设置在110的咔嚓数的原因啊？但是不好说啊，不好说。咱们再测一下。没事，咱们再测一下。 那么咱们从这里重新上一次。二档啊，
Second gear, no clutch.
咱们尽可能保持不要熄火，一次登顶成功。哈哈。1200。
1,200.
二档不如一档的低扭好。哦，刚才是3档，我操！还是不行。
Once again, the engine stalled at around 1,380 RPM. 二档还是在1380左右的时候，甚至在1440的时候就会熄火。 Let's try again and aim to keep the engine running throughout the test.
坡度来决定的，陡坡的话就更加容易熄火一些。没事，咱们再来一次，第3次啊。我们在第3次的时候尽可能的一次登顶成功。 我们从这里直接绕一圈走。好，二档啊。没问题。
In these second gear torque tests, we've observed that the engine's RPM must stay above 1,800. This is mainly due to the fuel mixture provided by the metering rod being relatively lean. From this, we can draw a conclusion. If you care a lot about low-end torque performance, you can set the metering rod to 80-90 clicks. Of course, this will result in some changes to the fuel efficiency. That's unavoidable. Nonetheless, with a multi-circuit setup, you can find a sweet spot where the performance is optimal from top to bottom. We are now starting the fuel efficiency test. Here are the results. XTNG Gen 3 Plus version 36. Multi-fuel circuit mode. Metering rod SK 110 clicks. Air circuit. 1. Assist fuel circuit 1.25. Power jet off. Fuel tank capacity 8 liter. Maximum range 100 kilometers. Today, we conducted a comprehensive riding test on the XTNG Gen 3 Plus version 36, and we are very satisfied with its performance. Here are our recommendations for users. We suggest using the multi-fuel circuit mode. In this mode, you can individually adjust the power band setting. Once set correctly, you'll enjoy a well-rounded performance experience. That said, the single fuel circuit also has its advantages. Its simplicity makes it an excellent choice for beginners. With our comprehensive metering rod system, we can provide you with rods that offer different fuel levels, allowing you to choose based on your needs. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.